Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have the minutes from the last meeting there in front of you? Look at that real quick. That all seems correct. Correct. Need a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, review of reports. Andy, you might start, please.
We're underwater. The plant has treated 1,207,660 gallons since January 22nd. Our average daily usage over that time period was 57,507. Filters were backwash on January 24th, 29th, February 5th. Our February back to use complete was absent. February water report is done, has been submitted to IDEM. Our annual nitrate test is complete. The DNR significant water withdrawal report is complete and has been submitted. And just for a little info, the town used 22.43 million gallons of water last year. So everybody says I don't use water. There's 300 homes using almost 23 million gallons of water. So Peerless Midwest has completed our annual well and high service pump testing. There were no issues with any of the pumps, and our gallons per minute has gone up on our high service pumps due to the new water mains leaving the plant. So I figured it would, but they verified it by our test today. Wastewater bin forming daily checks at the lift station and the sewer plant. The sewer plant's closed and we're not discharging. Our weekly sewer samples are complete. And I had to replace the starter on pump number 1 at the lift station. The starter locked and the pump was heated. And now we have a failure on our automatic controls. The lift station didn't run for the last 24 hours. Discovered that this morning. It's running on hand right now. Then once the station catches up, we're going to be repairing that and we'll pull the pumps for inspection. I'd like you guys to consider installing a pump station pilot over there. I brought this up probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it's between $8,000 and $10,000, but it would allow me to monitor the lift station remotely. We'd have a dialer on it. When we had an emergency or a failure, it would call me instead of something happening. And I was lucky to catch this pump. The contactors were welded shut on it, so even though the controls called for the pump to shut off, they couldn't physically shut off because the contacts for the motor were welded together from arc. And had I been out of town or some strange scenario going, we would have destroyed a $20,000 pump. Luckily, that didn't happen, but I want to get some pricing on that to bring to you to look at. Because we're supposed to have a dialer. We were supposed to do it on our last project, but didn't. So it would solve that issue as well. Then under streets, we plowed twice and sold it 3 times. Our paving grant has been accepted. I'm finishing the bid specs this week. I'm going to be advertising that for the bid opening to be March 26th at our regular meeting. We had to replace the batteries in the rescue. When it got cold out, they were done for. They were 5 years old. Did replace the tires on the dump truck, which should be on your claims, but they were the original ones. It's the first set we've done since we've owned it. And we replaced the batteries in the backhoe. They were even older, and Nicole did those in. And then now the starter went out on it, so I'm replacing the starter tomorrow. Under building, we issued 2 building permits. I have 6 permits pending to issue. 1 signed permit. It's going to require some council action. We'll talk about that. I have 1 building inspection, 2 zoning inquiries, 4 building permit inquiries, and then the January census report is complete. It's been submitted. On the back of your packet, just Manny so you can see it. We had a sign go up down at the restaurant. It's in violation of our sign ordinance. But, so I had to apply for a permit. The issue is, if you look at the highlighted section under PS03 for downtown commercial, any wall signs have to be flush to the building. They've installed 2 signs hanging on arms. So they're hanging over the sidewalk, town property. You guys are gonna need to approve that, and my opinion is we're gonna need some letter holding them responsible for them. I mean, what worries me is if someone happened with a sign and fall and hit someone on the sidewalk, and they sue, they're gonna say, well, you have an ordinance right here that says that sign can't hang over the sidewalk. So I just think you guys need to take some action to.
Did I miss, have they applied for variance or no?
No, they didn't apply for variance, and that's really is my next question, is whether to go through the variance process, or since it's town property, do we just have council render a decision on it?
They would need to go through a variance process if they're
I
gonna keep
told
the
them they may
signs
have
up.
to, but
That, they would have to, otherwise, you almost have to cite them if you're gonna keep clear of any liability.
right. Well, and I don't think they have a problem applying for it,
Yeah.
and they really need to do it for both, but I'll let them know.
Yep.
Fill the application out today,
Okay.
so I will. So then how that, I guess, how does that work when, I mean, you apply for the variance, but who makes the decision? The BCA, because they're encroaching town property. Does the town board have to say, we don't have a problem with the encroachment, but then the BCA still makes the final decision?
It would go to the BZA,
Right.
and any decision, they'd be the final body to approve the variance or not.
Right, but I guess,
You're worried about potential liability if.
well, that, but, I mean, you can't encroach, I mean, if you took the town out of this equation, it's me and you, we're neighbors, you wanna build your garage on my property, you're gonna apply for a variance, the BZA tells you you can do it, but you can't.
Right.
So that's, I guess that's my question.
Well, you
is-
could if I didn't remonstrate and they approved it over my remonstrance. I mean, there is that procedure.
Right, so I guess my question is, if they're going through the BZA to be approved or not approved, would they not still need some sort of approval from the town to encroach the town's property?
It depends on what their variance request is.
Well, it would be for the sign to hang out
Right.
over the sidewalk.
So they'll go through a normal procedure.
Because it's a zero lot build.
Yeah.
I guess that's where I'm going, so basically
Okay.
the whole thing is over.
Yeah. So in that case, if the town doesn't remonstrate or doesn't make a determination about their
Then it's
variance,
okay with them.
then they tacitly accepted it.
Sure.
I don't think we need to take any further
Okay.
action.
That's
a good
what I wanted
question.
to know.
No, that's a good
If
question.
it comes up again,
Yep.
So what's the liability if the town doesn't remonstrate and you go through the BZA and they grant this sign and then somebody gets hurt?
It'd be on their insurer.
Seeing that they-
Unless the cause of the accident was the town property, the sidewalk or whatever. It'd be their insurance company that would cover it.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll have them fill out an application and go through that. I kinda talked to them about that already, so I don't think it's not an issue.
Yep.
I just needed some clarification. All right, well, that's all I had. Did you have a question about something?
In front of you is Edie Kissie's, am I pronouncing that right? Kesey? Yeah, our new code enforcement officer, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Couple paragraphs there. Is there anything, Murray, you want to add to that?
Nope, I got her a shirt, I will be getting her, a camera and a high visibility vest either this week or next. But I do have a shirt for her that's embroidered. I submitted that bill, I think it's $40-something, for reimbursement.
we'll go to our chief's report. Eric?
Murray, before I get started with the runs here or the board, Murray, I was unable to get that information that you had, but it's being worked on, and I'll try to have it by the next meeting.
Okay.
She just said that she hadn't had time to get to it yet, so I will get that for you. The runs, as you can see, since January the 1st, I think there's 11 runs on here. The first two on this list, on the spreadsheet, you were advised of at your January the 8th meeting. So since January the 8th, we've had 9 runs, all EMS in the town. 4 of them to our address on John Street again, and 3 of them up on the county line. If you'll see on the one that was on the 30th and the 3rd, I put question marks. I don't know if they transported, to be very honest with you. I don't think on the 30th, I don't think at the 240 West 296th Street address, I don't think they did, because had they transported, we would have been back later helping him getting back in the house. So number 2 on my list is the conversation we had last week through emails of the warming and cooling centers here in town. That all started through an email from our EMA director, Shane Booker, asking for some suggestions on buildings in the town to be used as a warming and cooling center. They were working on a plan. So I put an email together and sent it to Jennifer, recommending the fire station in the community building, and then I believe she forwarded it to Toby, and then I got an answer back the next day. So I've since learned from that email thread that the fire station is set up for emergency power. It was built in when they built the building. It's there. I've been told that the community building is not. So we would have to look at converting that to make it ready available for backup power. I've since learned that there, and I think we know this, but there was an electrical cord or cable made up to power the fire station. Don't know where it is, to be honest with you. It's probably grown legs and walked.
Jared, get with me on Thursday, we'll just go make a new one.
Okay, I think I have a cord that we can use. It's just, we gotta find the right ends for the right plugs.
We'll get it taken care of.
So, okay. I'm still working on pulling together some costs, if the council would want me to do that, on converting the community building. And I know Pam and I, we talked a little bit about this on last Tuesday out at Beck's, at the all hazard mitigation plan review thing that we had, so.
Chief, what's the cost estimate about the conversion?
Converting it?
Yeah. Do a general outlay.
It's gonna be anywhere between probably 2,500 to, depending on what we go with, I mean, 2,500 to $5,000.
Okay.
Kevin does this at the county level, building and grounds.
Yep.
So,
And we've located a transfer switch and the center.
What's the advantage, why are we looking at the community building?
larger restroom facilities, has a kitchen area that's large enough. Like I
My
said,
point is, we already have it set up and ready to go at another town building, that's.
and we may need more than one though, Maureen, to be very honest with you. You know, the station may not be large enough.
And I've seen it here when the whole town shut down.
So, I mean, we may need this building, you know, we may need the library, so.
So my question, just to move forward, you need 3 quotes by phone to do that kind of work.
My other
For people who
assistant
are
chief is
known-
electrician, he's the one working on the numbers.
Okay.
So,
So from people who are known to do that kind of work, 3 phone calls is what
Okay.
we need to do by law.
okay, we can do that. In your packet, I hope that you've got the revised MOU for the storage of the light tower generator. As you know, Manny, I think, reviewed that and made some suggestions. We also learned on last Tuesday that MOU came directly from the state. It's kind of like a template, and then Hamilton County put their spin on it or whatever, and so Shane Booker thanked us, or thanked you, Manny, for taking the time and looking at that for him.
They cited the wrong laws, which
Yes.
is always problematic.
Yes. So, but if you're good with this, I would like to have your blessing for me to go ahead and sign that for the board. Or if you don't, if you want to hold off until the next meeting and take time and review it, we can do that and come back to it at the next meeting.
I think we need to table it till the next meeting.
Okay. Okay. And I'm okay with that.
Can we get a motion on that?
Yeah, can we get a motion to table this?
I make a motion to table it till next meeting.
Here, a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I've got some members of the department that are wanting to utilize Active 911 on their phones. What I have told them is the first year's on them. And then if it works out, then I'll look at putting it in the budget for next year. And so I just want to again let the board know that we're looking at that. American Red Cross. I was approached, it's been a couple of months ago, about having them come in town and do their home fire safety campaign. Basically what that is, it's Red Cross will furnish the smoke detectors. They'll partner with the department in the town to put these in the homes. You'll be surprised how many probably don't have a working smoke detector in this town. And I also learned on Saturday that the state fire marshal's office, because of the rise in fire fatalities across the state, they are getting what's called a Get Alarm campaign together. And towards maybe here in the next couple of months, we'll see some information on that to get some smoke detectors also. But I came in and spoke with Jennifer last week. I'd like to maybe put together a date for that, maybe April or May with the Red Cross, and then actually get it out on the water bills and let them know that we're coming into town with that, and see if we can canvass the town and get some of these smoke detectors out into the community. I think last meeting the last meeting I was here, I told you we had some Wi-Fi issues down at the station. Those have been fixed. The county came and fixed those for us. So it is now, the Wi-Fi is working. I had to send 5 of the Unication pagers back to be reprogrammed. J&K, who is the county's agent on that, didn't get them programmed properly, so there's no cost to that, so we sent them back, and I have those back now. There's 3 bills I just want to kind of brief you on down at the State House. That's Senate Bill 121. That was a bill to increase the clothing allowance from $200 to $400. That didn't go anywhere. The state didn't want to pony up $3.5 million so that the entities could go back and get that money from them. So that bill died. House Bill 1064 is what's known as the Ivy Tech Community College Bill. This bill has passed the House side, and it's poised to go over to the Senate side. But basically, what it's going to do is it's going to be providing free education for volunteer firefighters across the state. It has to be done at Ivy Tech, and it can be used on any of their degrees or courses that they offer up to an associate's degree. The state, I think, has finally saw the need that that there's a shortcoming on the volunteer side, and they're using this as a recruitment retention thing. And then House Bill 1650, elimination of township advisory boards. I know that doesn't affect this board, but it's going to affect this county. And basically, what that bill does, if it's passed, it will they'll do away with the township advisory boards, and the townships will have to go to the county council to get their funding. And that'll be interesting. So, next item on my list here real quick is engine 351. I had to replace the batteries, all 3 batteries on it. That was back at first of January. And we're working to get a mobile data, an MDT mount for the engine so that we can put our laptop in the engine. The one that Andy had one, but we can't make that one work. It's just, there's just not enough room, and we need a little different mount. So we're working with Ryan down at the county to try to make that happen. And then just to kind of update you on some equipment maintenance here real quick. Still trying to find somebody to do the ladder testing. I think I found a company out of Michigan called Firecat. I just need to reach out to them. I've got a company that I've called to come and maintain or service the Hearst extrication hydraulic power unit and the combo tool that's on the engine. Looking for a company to service the multi-gas detector. We did have the Cascade unit serviced back in the 1st of January. We've got some issues, and I may have told you this. If I did, I apologize for bringing it back up, but we're going to have to relocate that unit. The current location, I need to vent it to the outside for fresh air. I can't do it where it's sitting without, it's just going to be a major problem. So we're thinking about maybe relocating it over to the east side of the station along the east wall. The other thing is where it's sitting now, every time it kicks on, it picks up lint, dust, everything else from the dryer. And we were real lucky on the compressor side. There was some debris that got up into the fan unit, and had it ran, well, there's a good chance we could, well, the guy told me at service that said you're probably looking at about a $2,000 repair job if it had broken the fan. So, and then I was also told that the Cascade cylinders would need to be hydrostated in 2020. I think there's 4 bottles that'll have to be, they'll have to come and take those and take them and have them hydrostated. And then the overhead door was repaired. And it's, you really have to look at it to see that, you know, it's a different type of panel, but it's repaired. And hopefully we won't try to take that on runs with us again.
The door works though, right?
It does work. So that's all I have, unless you have some questions for me. You all know Kevin. Kevin's has stepped up to be one of the assistant chiefs down there, and is really helping a lot, which that takes some pressure off of me and some things that he's doing. So.
Any further questions for Jerry? Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks.
We'll move on with Jennifer. Do you have anything tonight?
The only thing I have is, in your packet, I put a cancellation of outstanding warrants. After 2 years, we're just required to receive those back in and report them to you guys, so that's it.
We'll go to old business, and we have Stu Savka. Salka, am I pronouncing that right?
You had it right the first time.
Okay.
That's outstanding.
Try it.
Never happened. Actually, that's Stu Sapkin. He's gonna give a report.
I'm sorry to say, I know the faces, but I don't know about the names.
Jim Frizzell.
It's him and me, it's all I know. Well, Stu, do you like to?
I think you guys, some of you might have got your reports when we came up here about a couple weeks ago. The ones that couldn't get were available to make it. I don't know if you have them with you. I've got stuff I can get to you. There's 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 things to discuss tonight, and Steve's going to be part of this discussion as well. And I'm going to give you things that what I'm hoping for is in this report. You guys can look at it, kind of read along if you will, but it's a thing that needs to be signed and that needs to be turned in as part of the early sewer ban warning and things that we had to comply with. And a report that you hired us to do an evaluation that we need to get turned in to IDEM by the 17th of February. So I'm going to ask you to sign that. and then I can take it with me and then take the report and turn it into, but, just so you guys have it and you know what it says. You can even read that, for the whole, read along if you wish.
I have a copy.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if you did not get you got a report, I don't think I. Okay.
I've got one, I've read it all. You can give it to Pam.
Anyway, this is evaluation that we did, we're looking at, we took stuff from our old report that we did originally in 2009. We did some smoke testing. Actually, it was a storm sewer and a sanitary sewer study that we did, paid for by an Oprah grant. Then this second go-around that we did another smoke testing, identify some other areas, see if anything had cleared up from the first time, and then stuff that was done in the project, well, a couple of projects in the sanitary sewer system and out at the wastewater treatment plant. Regarding your flows, we all know about that with the high excessive I&I. We know about the stories with IDEM and what they would like to see and what they're trying to tell you to do. What we want to do and what we're proposing is to break this up as economically as possible and that you guys can handle. And Brock, again, we'll talk about the financials on that. We're thinking about breaking this up into two phases. Phase one, and if you move to, what do you think, 7 or 8? Well, phase one, collection system improvements. Some of these things then, I don't know if Andy, I know he's very busy with a lot of the duties that he has already in town. The things that he can do if he has the manpower with him, and we can also help in concert with that. But there's some things that, we have identified in the beginning, some things such as the pick hole plugs and manhole covers, the cover inserts, some things like that. Those are the lower cost things that we can look at. Seal the manhole joints. But then a lot of this also is what we have to do, and if you look, I think part of this, you should have a map in there along the booklet there. It's color coded, and pinpoints. If you look onto the right of it, there's a lot of bullet points, numbers, and to the different areas. It pertains to where some of this is pertains to your sewer use ordinance, and you guys are going to have to enforce this. I think you guys updated in 2013, but you guys are going to have to update this, and you have to get serious as a board. This is a tough thing to do when you're being on the board and you have to deal with your constituents and people that you live with, and some might be your neighbors. But there are areas that are located in here where you might see that there's downspouts that are illegally connected, and you guys have a right in your sewer use ordinance to go in and check these, and you can notify these property owners. That is your right of running this town. I suggest you do that. Then we'll go back in when we do some of these other things, clean out caps, downspouts. And when we check all these things, and we check these things off as we go along, or we can make some of these improvements that are located in phase one, we want to go back in, take a look at the flows in your MRO reports, maybe even do another testing, maybe televising, to see where you're at and then again maybe we can do flow testing, see where some of the flows are coming from. If there's some pumps that are hooked back on, they've been taken off, and as soon as you turn your back and the property owners want to go back in and hook it back on, we can find that too. And it happens in every community. You have that, but I'm not saying the residents are bad people. I'm not saying they're going to police, but there's some things that you need to toughen up and tighten up here, because this is what you're getting dinged on from IDEM. Also, probably what we're looking at, we talked about potentially lining some of the lines or replacing. That's something that we'll probably have to go back in and do. Do that for phase two. Cost estimates. I've got a page here if you don't want to try and find that and leave through the booklet. we kind of ballparked it here. We could break it down even further once we get through some of these steps. And we can get you a real true cost estimates as far as if we had to line or replace any of the sewer segments. What else do we do? Sorry, John. You're sitting over there. We kind of ballparked it, what you have for both phases. I think we would have ended up at around $665,000. I would punch that up around 800,000 to be on the safe side. If we're going to be including engineering costs, soft costs, I'd say probably safe on the safe side to be around 800,000 that you want to look at future-wise, subsequent project-wise. But this is something you guys. I'm holding a gun to your head, but you're going to have to face that you're going to have to do. And Andy can probably tell you more from the standpoint of dealing with IDEM, what he's had to deal with, and what they've told him in all circumstances here. But anyway, you have the report. If I can get a signature on a page, I can take back with me, take it to IDEM, turn it in. Any questions? Have them now. If not, if you think of something later, you've got my numbers, I think. Call me anytime, or call Steve. He takes calls. Takes calls at midnight.
And I do. Anybody have any further questions?
So I recommend a motion on to execute the report.
Can we get a motion?
Make that motion.
Your second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So I'll take the report, and you could sign.
Sign it on the back here.
Just need his signature.
Yes.
What do you need on this?
Just your signature.
That's what I put down.
Oh, you did? Okay, you did. That's what I thought. It was okay. Sorry.
That's all right.
There's something else I'm missing. If not, let's see. You're up.
I got one thing here before you go.
Okay.
Just for the town council to think about. On the sewer work, I think the town money would be best spent on these shallow sewers, replacing them and lining our deep sewers. The reason I say that, our contractor from our water project was going to Marion to do a project, and he can replace them for what a company can line them for. And the lining is a repair. It's not a new pipe. It's not 100% guaranteed pipe. And most of our issues in our sewer that I have seen through previous PERs are these shallow lines that we have in the 7 to 4 foot range, and some of the bad ones we have are the ones that are really shallow that are, we've got some sewer mains, believe it or not, here that are only about 2 feet in the ground. I mean, because they're so far out on the system, everything gravities to the lift station, the whole town gravities there, and then we pump to the sewer plant. So it's just something I think we should look at and talk about, because I'm looking at, a lot of the issues in phase 1, these low-lying ones, a lot of the ones we're talking about are these shallow sewers. I just think we'd be money ahead and service ahead to us in the end. To not mess with trying to grout a manhole when we can have a new one and a new pipe. But one of the last lines I did on the south end of town, because a customer had an issue at their house, and I borrowed a camera and televised it just to assure the customer that it wasn't the town's line, that we didn't have a problem. But I ran about 150 feet of the sewer, and all of our sewers, with the exception of the subdivision and a few that have had repairs made to them, are vitrified clay. They're cracked, the joints are dried out, the gaskets in them are junk, but I kid you not, every 2 foot piece, they're 2 foot sections of pipe, and every single joint I went by was leaking. Every single one of them. And I just think of those, I'm looking at what this other project, because Bill did share with me, the project he did was a grant wasn't involved, they were just paying for it. But he pays prevailing wage year round, so it really kind of gave me a good idea where they were. And looking at, I'm still back to this, a brand new pipe, a brand new manhole, brand new connections versus a lined one. Now, we've got lines that are so deep, it's cost prohibitive. I mean, we've got mains that are 24 feet in the ground. You know, lining is the cheapest on those. But you guys read over this and look at this, I just really think it's something we need to look at, it's something we need to be proactive about, because we're gonna be forced into doing a project here. We can get grant money. I think we should try to take advantage of that.
So, Andy, and then something, you've seen my yard, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Neighbors, that's a low line drainage.
Yeah, there's no storm drain over on your end of town, that's the,
But mine collapsed, I mean, that ice, my ground dropped 6 inches,
yeah.
and I still think the low line drainage is part of the problems. And it's flooded over places it's never had. I know we had so much rain,
Yeah. We've got a
but
lot.
there's something going on that's just not going where it needs to be. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got it so far up my yard now, it's never been, half my yard is gone.
Yeah, the water table's high here.
I mean, your low, when you saying your low side drainage,
Yeah.
make up mine. And I know I'm in a low spot and everything, but my property value is going down that much. I just hope you agree with me.
This project's not addressing stormwater, it's all sanitary.
Okay, but if it's
Storm, so it wouldn't
if
affect
it's
your
still
property.
there's drainage somewhere that's messed up. I've seen it flood places in the last 4 years. Over here, way over my other neighbor's side, has never flooded before. I've never seen it in 4 years. And when I first got here, it hadn't flooded up until they started start the additions back here. I don't know if there's anything up to do with drainage, but I'm just flooded out. I don't know what to do. Drainage to do that. I know at one time Andy said when he was digging it, is that ground over there still sellable to fill my yard in?
What's sellable?
Well, when you took first time and told me I took the fence out, so you said you had someplace to put it, you just fill the yard in.
Well, I said if the contractor's gonna get rid of dirt, but he hasn't got rid of any dirt. I mean, I would be between you and him. I mean, I'm not gonna fill it in, but I said you could possibly get dirt from him. And I think it still might be a possibility once they move and everything, yeah.
I know if it's an upswell. Dirt. I got 8 inches deep,
Yeah.
or 30 feet.
This guy who said he could replace these lines about as cheap as you can.
If they're above 8 feet, that's the magic number.
You got is there a guarantee on this, or is there a time thing? Well, as far as price.
Well, no, it's okay to go out to bid for everybody, which I know he will bid on this project. He's done 2 projects here before. And I'm just saying, by looking at his numbers, I don't think it's a wise investment for the town to line a pipe 4 feet in the ground when we can put a brand new one in. I guess is what I'm trying to tell you. And I mean, and looking at, Stu was talking about phasing projects and things. A lot of these issues in this report are on private property, which he was telling you we're gonna have to deal with. People have to fix it. We've got leaking lines, leaking sewers, but and going out with these guys and doing the smoke testing. I mean, Adams Street is one that comes to mind with me. We've got a storm sewer down there, we've got a sanitary sewer, and in the length of that run, they cross each other twice. And that whole run down through there is just junk. I mean, there was smoke coming out everywhere. There's people's yards looked like they were on fire. I mean, it's bad, you know, and there's just a lot of areas. That's what I'm saying is, I really think the town should look at the option of replacing the shallow stuff versus messing with trying to line it. I mean, it's gonna be much more advantageous when they put a brand new sewer in, brand new taps, with a new pipe going over, you know, to the edge of the alley. So then customers do something, take off, they've got a new pipe to hook to. I mean, I've been there hassling with that where you're trying to, you know, hook a new line to a piece of clay pipe that's all cracking and crumbling, you know, and it's just like another step, another step, another step.
I think that's something down the road we'll be looking at, you know, once we get to that point and stage, but if we can get it at the same price, I agree with Andy, because for a simple fact, when you do a lining, you're lining the main line, they televise it, and then they just go back and core drill the holes where the laterals are at. So if you got a bad connection right there at the main, you're still gonna have water, groundwater getting in, and if, like Andy's saying, put that new sewer in and you kick their laterals over to their property, then the leaking lateral or line is on their responsibility for the homeowner to go from the house out if we still have groundwater getting in at their, off their private lateral.
Well, we can, I mean, we considered that. I mean, bear with me, when we do these things, we're also looking at you guys and your budgets.
Right. So I'm saying, it's the same cost.
I would suggest if it was mine.
It's better to replace it
If I had to rule this
than,
thing, then I would say replace everything, but, we know the realities of things here and the timing of grants of when you can apply and what you got before, and what you did and didn't do. So that's what we're faced with right now. So let's move forward.
Stu, would it be possible when you, because you've got a design that's going to design a project to, and get the bid documents together to list an alternative standard where they could bid either a lining or a replacement? Would that be possible? All right, maybe that's the way to go in the future. Set it both ways and see what's cheaper and get the bids.
Yeah, it says it in a report there, what was done
Let's
the
go with
first
that.
time, yeah.
I have a question Andy was saying as far as, you know, when they line it, and if it fails, does the town have to pay for it again, have to reline?
Well, they don't
It's
reline.
kinda like a Band-Aid,
They don't reline. I mean,
It was,
so if it fails, you gotta replace it anyways.
at some point,
it was a technology that came through that was it was economical.
Extend the lifespan.
I've seen them,
Yeah.
a contract, yeah, I've seen them, and it's pretty awesome, but yet,
Yeah,
hasn't been
Well,
around
it
very
doesn't,
long
it
either.
doesn't take everything away, you know,
Yeah,
you know,
it's not
water's gonna
100%.
find its way, but 30% maybe removal, what we found, sometimes, it just depends on your system.
Way below the
Sometimes
cross
faulty.
line.
This requires a decision,
no,
or
that's
something
just,
something to
down the
think
road.
about.
I'm just saying,
But I
We're gonna have to
think,
figure out where we're gonna come up with the money
well, I
first.
think part of this, what needs to be done in this phase is that we need to do the televising, and it needs to happen, and I think the best route of this, I know that, and I know Andy, that you borrow equipment from Arcadia, and that helps. I think what we need to do, and this could be paid for out of any kind of monies that we apply for, is to do a televising, clean and televising lines, and then we can get a clear shot at exactly what's going on, and we know exactly what, as far as lining versus replacing. That'll help.
Toby would help, and Steve discuss the
Yeah.
process for the funding.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to you. Next, Steve.
Good, good being here, good seeing everybody again. Brock here, I've got some paper for you. What we're talking about is a project. If you have a project, you need to find a way to fund it. I can tell you right now, with all the subsidized, low interest rate programs and grant programs available, that the lowest cost and quickest one to be the Indiana State Revolving Loan Fund. And if you want to move forward with a project and get it funded from the Indiana SRF, we're probably talking about 2 to 2.5% interest rates, 20-year loan terms. They have the ability to get a grant for the project, but your user fees are too low to qualify for a grant from the Indiana State Revolving Loan Fund. even after the project is completed. Stu's talking about an $800,000 project here. I showed you a range of projects. It might come in higher, it might come in lower once you bid it out, so you have an idea. You got a bond issue that's going off, and so I was factoring that in because everybody wants to know is what's the rate impact going to be, and your current rates and what they look at is about 4,000 gallons. At 4,000 gallons, the current sewer rate is about $52, and what we're looking at is somewhere between, it would, to close on a loan at the State Revolving Loan Fund, you'd probably require a rate increase of somewhere between 5 or 10% range. So you're talking about $5 or less on the average monthly bill from a customer, and if people are a elderly couple or one or two people in the house or a minimum bill, and then their impacts would be less than that. So you're probably not talking about a lot of money. Nobody wants to pay any more for rates and charges. So you've got a project that needs to be done. Funding is available from this program. One thing I'd like to mention is that this program is a funding cycle program. It gets its money in July 1st and tries to get rid of its money by December 15th. So if you wanted to participate in this program, you'd have to have what's called a preliminary engineering report and the environmental review and the application in by about June 1st. And if so, around July 1st or July 15th, they would tell you that you're funded, and you would have then have to be able to bid the project out by about mid-October and get your costs and close the loan by about December 15th. So there's, if you wanted to do the project this year at that kind of a rate impact, that's the schedule that you'd be looking at to have to follow. And, again, I can't tell you whether the project's necessary or needed, but I can tell you how to fund it at the lowest possible rates and terms, and that would be the Indiana State Revolving Loan Fund. You had your last project, you had a grant from Okra.
For those who don't know, Steve is the one that got us $1 million for our water project.
I wish I could do it for you again on this one.
Thanks, Steve.
$1 million.
Thank you, buddy.
100% grant
Play
funding.
left sometime.
I'll take you. Thank you, Andy. There's, you're just not, and I did a nice thing for Arcadia too last year, but got him some grant money. But for this project, it's not. You got an Okra grant, which is not a loan program, but a grant program at your last project, and it takes 7 years before you can apply for another Okra grant. And my understanding is that time period hasn't passed yet. So, you know, that's the first thing we look at, free money. Certainly when we get free money in, we don't want to borrow any money. But that's not available for this project at this time. But the interest rates are low now, and money is available. Interest rates will be rising in the future, and costs generally go up. So if you have a need and you want to do it, this would be the program to use, and that would be the timeline. And I'm here to answer any questions that you have on any of it.
Well, I think it's an absolute necessity to get this done, and I think we should do it. Prove it and get it done as quick as we can.
I don't think we have another option.
Anybody have anything to add?
Well, it's our first step in moving forward.
Probably engaging Steve would be one.
That would be one. The steps, then, if I could just jump in, the steps would be, you need to get your team together to be able to do this. I'd be one team member, Triad would be the other. They'd need to prepare the PER to submit to the state. That has to be approved. You have to, and that has to be done before June 1st. You've got local counsel involved. You'd also need a special type of attorney called bond counsel. Bond counsel is required for any loan or bond that you have to have, and they give an opinion that, there are actually two main opinions. One, that the money that's borrowed has to be paid back, so when lending the money knows you're going to pay it back and you can't walk without under it. And two, that it's a tax exempt debt. And there are maybe 6 or 7 firms in Indiana that do this kind of work, and actually your attorney's firm does that kind of work. So You could either choose to hire that firm, hire one of the firms used in the past, or you could get quotes from the firms that are out there that do that kind of work to find out what the least cost would be. But, one
Which
of
is
the-
what I recommend, by the way, is to run that quote process through Steve. And he would email basically everybody and say, what's this type of project, what can you do for us? That usually results in the lowest cost of the town.
I agree with that. I'll do that for you. I've got a list of about 7 firms, Manny's firms on that list, people I've worked with for bond counsel work in the last 5 or 6 years that are active in doing it, do a good job, are known by the SRF because nationally recognized bond counsel. All those firms on that list are. And if you would want, and I've copied Jennifer on it, I haven't Sunday yet, a list out or a request that you wanted to explain the project to them, the funding source, which would be the state revolving loan fund, and kind of an idea what the project was, and ask them if they'd be interested in giving the town a quote for that. And then
So we're looking at about 19,000 for.
you know, this is, I've gotten ranges, and especially I've gotten ranges when we put it out for a quote. But yeah, typically it'd be about 15 to 19, and it's getting competitive out there anymore for bond counsel services. If you let them know that they're one of a list of people that you're getting quotes from, you'll get a pretty good price, and at least then you know you've got the lowest possible price available. So I think that's a good recommendation from your attorney to get the lowest cost for the town, but that is an essential service. You'd probably, to get started, which is what you asked for, how do you move forward, what's the first step, is to engage your engineer to prepare that PER so that any environmental review and the application for the state revolving loan fund, so that you can get moved with that and tell your engineer that they need to do that all before June 1st. So that you can be scored, pushing, so you get scored and on the project party list so you can get a funding offer in July. Now, I'll also tell you that the state revolving loan fund is, just because you've applied for it, doesn't mean you're obligated to close it. If you move forward to that point, you think for some reason you want to delay it, then you could do that. One thing that most people also ask me about is, if we do have to have a rate increase, and I could run the numbers, the final numbers for you after we get the bids, when does that rate increase have to take effect? And now that rate increase would not have to take effect until January of 2020. So it's not any rate impact that you'd see this year, if that's important to you. But and we'd have to prove the state revolving loan fund that rates are in effect, that are able to pay the annual operation, maintenance, repair, replacement, debt service on the new debt, and any existing debt that you have, and still come up what they call a 1.25 debt service coverage ratio. And my little analysis there shows you can do all that probably within about a 5 or 10% rate increase. I haven't looked at Jennifer's books, so I'm looking at what was filed in Gateway. But if everything else is good, then it would be in around that.
Any questions for Steve?
I just got a comment on this since I'm talking to Steve. This letter here with these 3 phases is in that booklet that's going to IDEM.
Yeah.
And basically, I feel before we move forward with this, we need to make sure that IDEM accepts this as an agreement, that they don't come back and say that it's not acceptable, they want us to do something totally different. That way we ain't having the engineer do a PER based on this, and IDEM comes back and wants a bunch more done. And we're not under the gun right yet at this time. We just gotta reply back to them with this letter that you signed, that you know what our intentions are. So we're not under any obligation to do anything at this time. They just wanna know what our plans and what we're planning to do and intentions to do to keep moving forward with the I&I situation in the system. So I would make a motion that we table this until we get a reply back from IDEM, and then get back together and discuss it and see if they've got some different plans for us. And
Motion's been made. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
you want to also table Steve, or do you want him to get going at least on the rate issue? That's something you probably need to do.
I think we should let him get going on the rate issue, so we can get the ball rolling.
But we won't know what the rate might be if the project kicks up in a cost, because that'll be factored into the rate study. Because any money we have to borrow, whatever, to do this project, or any of these phases of this project, will be part of the rate increase.
But I'm saying at least you have him engaged, so that way when you do say go, he doesn't have to come back.
And I can do the
And wait
initial
for it.
work and then leave you, and have a preliminary study to you that you don't have to act on.
Ideas that we'd have
And
to
then
do.
when we get the numbers in, I'd update it for,
Right.
put the estimated numbers in,
Right.
and be updated for the final numbers when they're good. And then you wouldn't have to take action on anything until January 2020.
It sounds logical to me.
Okay.
So,
That was good.
I was looking at these numbers on here and reading your, number 3. So none of this includes buy down. This is just
That's just pure 100% loan funding from the state revolving loan fund
versus any grant money from them.
versus grant money. And to get into grant money from the state revolving loan fund for a sanitary sewer project, your user fee at 4,000 gallons has to be $65 or above.
Right.
And you won't get there post-project, so there just wouldn't be any grant money available from them for this. But with one minor exception, and that is one of the requirements since July of last year, with the Indiana revolving loan fund financing, is if you close on a loan with them, you're required to do an asset management plan. They'll give you $30,000 to do that, and that would be a grant. That'd be a good thing for the town to have, and that'd be funded from the state revolving loan fund as a grant. But that's not gonna help the rating. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was all that
So
again?
did you want a motion, Toby, on Steve's service?
Yeah, let's, do I have a motion to accept what Steve just said? There's a lot.
Make a motion to go ahead and move forward with Steve and the preliminary cost rates.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
What? Who has a problem? Me?
Shoot, no, she has some
Oh, I was
questions.
just gonna ask if did I see if I had.
Sure, I know, yeah.
Music hall.
I did.
Yeah, your gutter's hooked to the sanitary
I'm
sewer.
really curious about mine too.
So is Abe's
Just
building.
set at the time.
They're all out of order.
Well, he didn't do the tile in the ground.
Huh?
Somebody's put the tile in the ground at some point in time, but that tile that's sticking out of the ground is hooked to the sanitary sewer.
I went through this in the town of Cicero, it cost me $1,800, so
I got them all back, I'll fix it.
There was nothing at your house, Roberta.
Nothing at the house? Okay.
No.
Nothing at the house.
Nothing at mine.
Okay, let's
Made it by
move
this
on
time.
to the workshop. Jennifer's, wanting to set up a workshop with Manning.
What would you like?
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I want you to explain to him what,
No, we had discussed, doing a workshop, this was the end of last year.
A while ago, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, a while ago, yeah, and since, being a new, court treasurer, I think that's a good idea.
Sure, yeah, so generally when we do these, it'll have to be called a public meeting, but you do it on on an odd time, maybe Saturday, and I come in and discuss roles and responsibilities and answer any questions about, bidding procedures, stuff that might be new to some folks before you actually go and get your, for my act or AIM rather, your other, education as either clerk treasurer or town council. Be happy to do that. Just tell me when and give me some lead time and a couple of topics that you're particularly interested in, and I'll set it up.
you have any?
Is there a good time for anybody?
Yeah, is
Might as well set it,
anybody
yeah.
have any-
If we could set up the time tonight, that would be great, and then that way.
Do a festival meeting before the next meeting. Is this what kind of time frame? What time for the meeting?
It could be, it could be 5 hours if you wanted to. But it could be like my bar review class, it could be a couple hours. You could, I say an hour is a solid amount of time. to get through kind of the main highlights, and for you guys to ask questions. And I'll just do kind of a highlight of certain topics that come up a lot. That you'll hear me say: open door law, access to records, bidding, that kind of